the dignity and worth of all people. We believe in the use of compassion and making justice in the world. So they reflect some of these core theological statements. Those principles happen to be really bylaws for the organization, but they're not that great, and they're also under review. I would say they're less enduring than those three core pillars for our tradition. Yes. Other questions? Yes.
So you're saying before the Nicene Creed, people were a lot more tolerant, and then that was sort of like the dividing line. Just
well, I don't know about people were more tolerant.
Well,
yeah, people were probably not very tolerant, but there was tolerance between Christians for sure, especially in a special place like Alexandria, which had a Greek-speaking Jewish community, had a history of Egyptian religion, had this really new Christian religion. In a place like Alexandria, where you've got ships coming in from all over the Mediterranean, you've got a great library that's burned to the ground, so you've got a history of intellect. You probably have a higher level of notions of religious tolerance than in some other parts of the world.
So today, what would you say is one of the more tolerant societies in the world?
Societies. I'm not sure I could answer that. I mean, I think there are pockets of tolerance everywhere. I mean, we're sitting in a organization that makes it their business to sit down with people of all different backgrounds and faiths. I mean, I think it happens in pockets all over. I mean, Berkeley, California is a pretty tolerant place. I don't know. Certainly there are more tolerant metroplexes than the Dallas-Fort Worth one. I think a study of hate crimes would help us with that. The fact that there's, more death penalty, more hate crimes, more things in Texas and the South than in other parts of the country say to me that there's more sort of pockets of toleration elsewhere. But in a sense, that's neither here nor there. I mean, we're sitting together because of this pocket of tolerance. Our church exists because we are, in a sense, a living embodiment of a pocket of tolerance. There are Methodist churches that are doing that. There are all kinds of people. Does that? I mean, I don't know if that helps. I don't think there are. I
don't know if you're striving to. What's the present day Alexandria?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Seattle. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I mean, where all those things are coming together, that intellect and that rich culture and that commerce. I mean, there are cities around the world that are kind of like that, but I don't know that there's anything utopian about any of these. Claudia, you had a question?
Well, several things have been raised in my mind. For one thing, I think there are Unitarians who don't consider themselves Christian at all, who may not even believe in God in any traditional sense. And so when you look at tolerance, we as a community tolerate a huge variety of theologies and points of view and beliefs and unbeliefs.
And not, and we can be not very tolerant. That's also right. That's true. Of even our own people, which is a struggle for us.
Yes.
In some level.
Yes.
Because of that wide spectrum. I think the church here in Dallas is uniquely situated as a container that holds that wide variety. Very true. Other questions or statements? Back.
Possible for the Second Council of Nicaea.
Another Nicene Council.
Hell freezes over.
Yeah, right. I don't think so. I think it's a bygone thing. The Pandora's box has been opened wide enough for all kinds kinds of things to happen. I will say that even, I mean, certainly in Islam, we were talking about this earlier, in Islam and Christianity and all kinds of religions, there is this spectrum of orthodoxy and liberalism. And I think sometimes the orthodox in any religion try to gain enough power and control to call a council to say who's in and who's not. I mean, we see it locally in some Christian churches that want to argue about certain types of people, like gay and lesbian people being in their church or not, and bishops taking sides and things like that. So, I mean, the fact isn't that we'll see another grand Nicene Council, but that little mini councils happen occasionally amongst us in our own faiths, and can be very dangerous for the world. If someone is defining Islam in a certain very orthodox way and starts to say to you, you are not a Muslim because you are not this long beard with the certain measurement or whatever it is, there's a danger in that. And that's, I think, one of the lessons from the history, too.
One of the characteristics of Unitarianism, prominent for me, is that we question truths in order to get closer to the truth. So we question any truths or any source. And I wonder how that compares to Islam. Is that a freedom or almost a responsibility? We would consider responsibility.
You want to answer theological question?
Mr. Osman can...
He's walking. He's leaving. Well, one of the things so the question to you is, for us, core to our faith is debate, dialogue, questioning of what might be considered truth. And so the question was, in Islam, is there a similar practice of questioning? I mean, there is contrasted with submission and the Quran, which is, I mean, there's no commentary on the Quran, I mean, right? And so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a scholar, or I don't hold any kind of religious position, but I can just say that questioning is also part of our belief. Quran says, Quran in a way actually promotes questioning, saying that I take an oath to a person, the person who questions all the time, to make an emphasis that the one who questions himself or the things around himself is basically on the right way to find God. It is Islamic submission, that is true, submitting yourself to the will of God, but that doesn't make you a puppet in a way. You have the free will, you have to make a selection between right and wrong, and you are responsible of your actions, the way you select. So it is, there is questioning and reflecting on around yourself is an important aspect in Islam, I can say that. I don't know whether that answers directly the question.
Yeah, and again, there's probably a whole history where that wasn't true too in Islam. I mean, I can think of, we talk about some of the Sufi mystics who declared, themselves, I am God, and then, the next thing, there's no room for that person. I mean, there is some...
Yeah, actually, there is a minority opinion in Islam. It is basically a person who believes because of his forefathers' beliefs, the way that they believe, is not actually considered as a true Muslim. That's a minority opinion, but there's an opinion like that. You have to basically struggle, you have to convince yourself so that you can call yourself as a Muslim. Yeah.